Very, very happy to be here today. Thank you very much for having me. And I guess I can only just like tell you maybe like a few aspects or stories of my reportage in Ukraine, like from the point of view of an foreigner, of an outsider who came into the war zone. And I'm not a reporter or a journalist per se, like more like a novelist and performance artist. But through this work, I got like into quite close contact to Ukrainian contemporary literature scene. I guess maybe because you know, like as an Austrian, so I'm from Tyrol, like the western part of Austria, and maybe because of the history, it's been partly like a common or one country or one region, or because of cultural politics, there's like a very close relationship between Austria and Ukraine, like at least in literature. I also like to, same like maybe like to Montenegro or like ex-Yugoslavia. It's more like a focus to Eastern, Southeastern Europe. So like for me as an Austrian writer, I have actually like no contacts to. So as a contemporary Austrian writer, I have like no contacts to Italy, for example, or Spain, and to Spanish or Italian writers. But there are close contacts, let's say, to Polish or Ukrainian ones. Be it that like Ukrainian writers used to come, so before the war, or before the grand scale invasion, used to come to Austria for scholarships. Or me myself, I've been like to before 22, once to Czernowitz and once to Lviv for literature festivals, like Meridian Czernowitz and the Book Forum in Lviv. So there was like this, I already had contacts, so mainly like to writers from Ukraine and to literary organizers. And so it was, and I guess I'm like not the only one, it's like a lot of like writers from Switzerland, Austria and Germany have the same experience. So when the war started in February 22, it was like very fast. It became like an issue or a discussion in the German-speaking literature scene, what to do. I mean, what to do, it's a stupid question, but you know, it's like, now the war is starting and it's happening and like, we all have friends and colleagues in Ukraine, so what, as a writer, or as an artist, what possibilities do you have? And in the beginning there used to be like support readings, let's say. You know, also like in Vienna, very big ones. Where like different writers read like the audience and they tried like to collect donations for Ukraine. And it was very interesting, like in the, you know, if I wrote like a friend in Ukraine, like how are you, what is there to do, you know, like mostly they answered, you know, what is there to do? You can send money, or you can send weapons, or
better both.
Yeah. or you come here, you know, and just see it and then write about it. And that was for me like an interesting opportunity, as I sometimes I'm writing like reportage, literary reportages, like longer pieces for Austrian media, mainly for Der Standard. Austrian daily magazine, newspaper, and I always use it normally like a kind of a research or like the basis for the later novels. Like first the research and going to a place and conducting interviews, and then from this material, normally I would like construct or use it like as a material for a future novel. So I did like for my the first novel had a lot to do with Bosnia, for example, with the outcome of the Bosnian War, and its outcome especially like through the people who had to flee from Bosnia, mainly from eastern Bosnia, let's say to Austria, and how they managed to build a new life, and also like how to deal with the trauma from war. Or with your memories, depending if you were like a soldier or a victim, of how to deal with the things you experienced. And the later novel had a lot to do with Syria, the Syrian war, and also the refugee crisis in 2015, and its impact like on Austrian society. And so for this novels, I used to go like, for example, to Lesbos on the island, like to look at the back then huge refugee camps. How's the situation at the border of the European Union, for example. And or I went to Lebanon also for So when I got like in contact like in February 22 with Ukrainian writers, I thought it would be like a good idea really to go there and to, I don't know, let's see what's happening. Maybe use that for the reportage, just like to offer a kind of a different opinion, maybe also like for the Austrian readership. Because back then, very soon, maybe you heard about it, it used to be like a big thing in Germany, like in the German art scene, that quite famous writers and directors and actors wrote like open letters, asking for a kind of ceasefire, which would have meant that like Ukraine is backing down and like accepting Russia's approach and Putin's condition, but just for the sake of peace. Should be like they phrased it that like Ukraine should be like the more intelligent one and stop the fighting. I mean it's like you know, it's like a mindset strongly coming from the pacifist movement in the 60s and 70s, but surely you know, it's like they didn't take into account all the suffering which Ukraine already went through, and that it's like not only you're right, but what else is there to do than to stand up and try to fight it. And it was kind of the same like in Austria, where a few writers like wrote also like these open letters. I thought it's like it's so easy to do if you're sitting like at home in Austria, in a safe home, you're at your desk. It's easy like to demand it like from Ukraine, like to just give up for the sake of peace. No one really knows what's happening in Ukraine, what's going on. So I tried like to get into Ukraine, or the first time it was done in beginning of April 22. And it started that like a Polish friend, he's like a journalist, wrote me, and he set himself up in Przemyśl, and he was like along the border, Polish-Ukrainian border region. He was like searching for stories, conducting interviews at the beginning of the war, like the first few months he was there. And he wrote me like, hey Robert, why don't you come? It's like a lot is happening, also like in the border region. Could be like good stuff for a reportage. So I went to Przemyśl first from Vienna, and when I arrived, he told me, you know what, everything is happening very fast. Tomorrow we would have like the possibility to go to Lviv. Because there was like the Latvian NGO, Blue Yellow, Latvian Ukrainian NGO, and they were trying to get medical equipment into Ukraine. And they just got like 3 ambulance cars from Sweden. And it was like, so first I was in Przemyśl, and it was very interesting for me like to see how they actually work, like all the NGO work of support. Because back then it was obvious that like all the states were very slow somehow in helping or supporting Ukraine, or it took them longer, and like all these individuals and NGOs were much faster in setting up support networks. So they brought all the medical equipment to Γίνετε, and they ever met like one guy from Latvia too, and back then he was like dressed like in uniform, like casual military.
Yeah.
We were sitting in church, and he was always very on point, very military. But he was like working for this NGO in taking care of the ambulance cars, and he made them like fit for the front line. So checking like the antibiotic supplies and everything the soldiers need in the fighting zone. And so I talked with him, like we went for a beer in the evening before, and asked him like, you know a lot about war, is it? And then he was like, yeah, I used to be like in NATO. Like, he was like end of his 40s, but he used to be like in NATO. He was in Iraq and in Afghanistan. And afterwards he rose to the rank of lieutenant. But he said, yeah, for him it was like too much bureaucracy. So he quit the army and he went to become a paramedic, like a doctor, emergency doctor, and used to work in Sweden at the hospital. So because he said it's like a different kind of panic zone, you know, you're like going to an accident and then you have to decide very fast what to do. And that was more his approach, or what he liked. But still, you know, he was like a real soldier, like fluent. I don't know how you would imagine it, like very strict, and like always like 10 minutes ago. Yeah, and then he said like, and I met like a lot of people back then, like from all over Europe, maybe, who had like maybe a similar background, somehow like kind of military experience, or coming like from the medical sector, who said, or like him, like this guy who said then, okay, the war started, he felt it was like his obligation to help, so he took like 3 weeks holiday and went to Γίνετε. Back then, like a lot of people were like in Γίνετε looking for ways to help, and also like looking for ways to get into Ukraine, to help more, or to be in the country. It was like his idea was to take one of the ambulance cars, so there were 3 of them. It was his idea to bring one of these cars to Kharkiv. And the 2 others should stay in Lviv or maybe go to the south of Ukraine, one of them, like where it's needed the most, 2 years ago. So the next day we went with these 3 ambulance cars into Ukraine, and it was kind of organized via the Latvian embassy. So they had like the 3 cars, and the Latvian embassy supported the transport with a military convoy. Like they sent them a few military cars from Latvia, so it had like this very official approach, like with blue light going to the border. Because back then it was like a little bit, or it could take some time to get into Ukraine via Γίνετε, because like the Polish guys were like looking at everything, what's going out of the country, what is getting into Ukraine, so checking like the transports. But with this help of Latvian military, it was quite easy to get into Ukraine and not to Lviv. So we had like the 3 ambulance cars, and in the first one, my Polish friend was sitting, the Polish journalist. In the second one, me, and in the third one, Katarina, but she was like a Czech journalist from Prague, and she arrived early morning because she heard there's like this ambulance transfer is going into Ukraine. She wants to use the chance. She took a night bus from Prague to Γίνετε, and yeah, just short, like because it was a way for her to get into Ukraine, into the country. So when we arrived in Lviv, it's like for me it was very interesting to see that already like the mechanism how to deal with journalists was very much in place and very well done by the Ukrainian government.
Mm-hmm.
So that you arrived, you went to Lviv, to the main square. There used to be like this. Yeah, and there used to be like this pub, the beer pub. Yeah, Pravda. You know, and then, I don't know if it still is, but that used to be the news center or the media center. So you went there, you got your accreditation as a journalist, and upstairs there were always like conferences going on, like generals, politicians, and when I was there, Katarina Solovi, the singer. She was there as well.
Oh.
Like, just talking like what she's doing for the army. And so before me, in April 22, there were already more than 1,500 journalists going through Lviv, getting their accreditations. And the day before I arrived, the first one from Zimbabwe entered Ukraine. You could see that like all the world media is like focusing and getting more and more interested into Ukraine. For example, like Katarina, the Czech journalist, she then went to Kharkiv. So after we arrived in Lviv, she was on the way to the Portland, so separated. And in these days, first year we gave over the ambulance cars, and I met a few people I knew from Lviv and was like around in the area for a few days to see how the city is coping, you know, how it's working, also like what it's doing with people there, like. Like coming like from the art or literature scene, it's more like a very, in general, I would say, you have rather like a very left background, or let's say even anarchistic. So, like this avant-garde. And in Lviv, I met then like, for example, Ukrainian poets and performers, who were all, like talking, how much it changed, like through the last weeks, like. That suddenly you are in a position that you have to defend your country, and that you are not questioned, and that you would never have thought before that you would come into this position, that you would need have like that you will do like the fighting training and shooting, and that you would be ready, or that there's the possibilities that if the Russians come, that you have to fight. And this notion changed a lot then in the first days of April because of Bucha. It was this time when it got public what happened there, and like coming from the outside, or being there as a journalist, first you had like these rumors, even before it got public, it was already like gotten around a bit, that something had happened, something huge, and it's like it's confirmed, and you have like the photos and videos are also available. And then it got public, and I don't know, for me it was really like you could see that, I don't know, it got even, it was like kind of a rift went through society, or kind of like in Lviv, like the situation before was like shitty, and then this happened, and it was like I don't know, like coming from the outside, you could see how much it hurt, or like it's something such unimaginable, and then to have got the confirmation what the Russians are doing, Or I spoke with one at the place I stayed. He was working at the mayor's office. In the press office of the mayor, Sadovi, and I don't know. He said, like it's like a horror movie. Like the evil has entered your country, your home, and now you have to get rid of it. But how? How is it possible to get rid of this really evil power, which is approaching and is coming nearer and nearer?
I think it's what everyone feels.
Yeah.
Actually,
Yeah,
absolutely.
sure.
Yeah, each day we're just feeling exactly the same that you're telling, that it's just evil. It's the most evil that only possible on the planet, just involved our country and killing and no one can stop it.
Yeah, yeah. And back then, like this, the guy where I stayed, you know, he had bought himself before a rifle, and he is living, like his wife and daughter already went to Poland, and he stayed behind in Lviv, and they had like his rifle and the patrons. They're like on the river sea, and it was also like a very nice guy, you know, very like very friendly, but also like with this huge weapon. It's like, you know, just in case I have to be ready. And like the Latvian guy with whom I was with, like the former NATO soldier, he was like, you shouldn't have bought a rifle. Like as a private person, much better if you have like a pistol. No one knows that you are competent, that you would fight, but with a rifle it's like from far away everyone, also the enemy knows, okay, that's a risk, we have to take him out. So it's very interesting how we fought.
Correct.
Yeah. No, with this Latvian guy, like his he didn't make it like to the front line. I mean, that was also interesting. Like 2 years ago, we that there were like quite a lot of foreigners I met. Young guys, maybe, who managed to get into Ukraine and who were looking for a way to join the army or like to fight for it. I don't know, they seemed also like very idealistic. I always thought maybe it's the same like with the Spanish Civil War, like in the 30s, you know, also like all the volunteers came. But back then, I think the Ukrainian army issued a new order that they won't allow any more volunteers because like the risk got too high that they get kidnapped and are then used for ransom. And so also like this Latvian guy was like his idea like to go to the front line didn't work out. So he went back with me back to Poland, and he was kind of sad that he had to leave Ukraine. That like he had 3 weeks holiday, and I think he really thought it would be possible like at least to go to some kind of combat zone and to help them. Yeah, but he said he will try again. Let's see, maybe I don't know, maybe it worked out in the end for him. But also, yeah, I guess, I mean, he was kind of okay with the situation. As we were like in Lviv, a lot of people like from Mariupol were there, or from the south of Ukraine, and they also met like the guys there who just got home, like a short pause from fighting, or had friends like in the army. And it seemed also back then, also what you heard from Mariupol, that it's like a very, you know, like massive warfare, like a lot of artillery and just like heavy bombing, and yeah, so like this former NATO soldier was also okay. I think he tried to console himself, like that he said, you can actually, as an individual, you can nothing do against like a rock. It's like you can be like as well experienced as a soldier, still it hits you. Nothing to do, yeah. And so that was like a short version of like my first reportage in Ukraine, and the second was then last year in November. And that worked mainly because of like the literature context. This Meridian Chernovitz, I don't know if you heard about it, like the publishing house.
Do you know Andrei Ljubka?
Yeah, very good.
Yeah.
Very good.
He was also
He was here on your place, yeah.
Because like in November, in November
In November, I think he was here.
October,
Yeah, he was right there where you're sitting now.
You should make a selfie for him.
Because in November last year, I was like in south of Ukraine with Lygeros, with Jirina Civic, and with Sergei Shadan. Because they, I know these guys like from Meridian Czernowitz, Evgenia Lopata, and Slava Pomerantze, the chefs. Like they told me, like before in April, I was at the book fair in Leipzig and met them there, and they said, yeah, we are thinking about maybe hosting like a reading tour of Lygeros, Civic and Shadan in south of Ukraine in fall. Maybe that would be like a good material for a production. So if you,
it's cool.
if you would like, you would join. And then I was like, yeah, sure, if it's happening, definitely. It would be a great opportunity to do that. And then I think like in August they wrote me, or September, yeah, it's happening. Like you just have to get to Chisinau, Moldavia. And from there someone will pick you up and bring you to Odessa. And then we will go, or you can join Lygeros, Civic and Shadan on the reading tour. Right? Because there was like Meridian Odessa first, I think like the second time they did it, huge festival of Ukrainian literature in Odessa, where like a lot of contemporary Ukrainian writers were there presenting and talking and discussing. And then we went, that was like the first weekend in November, and then we went from there in Slavas, in the publisher's minibus, first to Mykolaiv, then to Kherson, from Kherson a long way to Zaporizhzhia, and from there back to Odessa. So it was like 1 week together with Lygeros, Civic and Shadan, joining them like as a shadow. So what they're doing, and then they wrote like a reportage about their reading tour in wartime in southern Ukraine. Yeah. No, I mean like that was a very fascinating experience. And like one thing was like, you know, like Shadan, he's also like very famous in German-speaking countries. Or like, I guess he's like the
As a musician or as an author?
Interesting as an author, as a poet or novelist. You know, I think it's like
He translated Paul Celan into Ukrainian.
Shadan. Yeah. So I would say it's like next to Androchovich, Shadan. It's like the two best known Ukrainian writers. And like let's say in Austria, it's always like if you read about him, it's always like, yeah, the Ukrainian novelist, poet, Sergei Shadan, and he used to do music, or like music is his hobby or something, kind of something like this, you know. Then I went to Ukraine, like I met him, and I thought, first thing I noticed was that he's like actually really famous. I don't know, like you're walking through Mykolaiv and people are crossing the street and they go, Shadan!
Oh, wow!
And I was like, wow, it's a writer to be that famous.
At our times, writer is famous like that. Not the singer, not the actress, but writer.
But then you don't know, he's like very famous as a musician,
Yes.
like with his band. And he had like this new single, which the video they shot in Lviv.
In church?
In the church.
With Christina Salai.
Yeah, this happens. And it was like kind of a scandal. Like,
it was
with the two women kissing. And then the shot of the church. It was like Slava, his publisher and manager, was very happy because of that. Because it was like a huge publicity. This kind of a little scandal. So that was
scandals is better.
So that was interesting to see, like how it is to be like on the road with a really prominent person but he's like very easy going, very nice.
Mhm.
And also with Andrei Ljubka and Irina Zilik, which all the two of them have a very, I would say, like distinctive kind of approach to in the writing, or Irina also as a filmmaker, and they're very, all three of them, I would say, are very distinctive, like in their works, like very special. And also during this tour, I mean, it was very impressive to see. Like first that there was hardly nothing on social media as a security, as precautions. So like not, because if the Russians are also reading Instagram and Facebook, and if they know that there will be a reading in Mykolaiv this and that time, it could happen that the
That time, yes.
Yeah. And so it was all like more like mouth-to-mouth propaganda. Or they tried to make some advertisements like the organizers in either cities. But still, like in Mykolaiv at the beginning, it was in the cinema of Mykolaiv. I mean, it was like packed. It was like 500 people there, and like it was very touching to see, like all the atmosphere and how much like the people enjoyed the literature, like the three different kind of literatures, the three poets and writers. And also like in Mykolaiv during Irina's reading, the alarm went off and we all had to go into the bomb shelter, and then it was like they had like Baustrahle, the English word. The light you use at construction sites, like very strong. They built that up, 3-4 of them. It's very dystopian. So having the bomb shelter, having like 500 people like coming there, Irina reading her poems. Yeah, I don't know. It was like very special. I thought like also like when Shadan, he always finished the nights when he was reading his poems. I don't know. I mean, it was very touching to see how he managed also like to grab the people. Like people were crying or were listening and already knew the poems. A few verses, you could see. I mean, coming like from a Western country, where literature or art in general that got a little bit like is not so important anymore, or has lost maybe also like its impact it could have on society. I don't know. It's not very often that you see that literature can move.
Emotions.
Yeah, in such a way, I mean, sure, it can move emotions in the reader when you're alone at home and reading, but to see like how much it means to like a lot of people, and even if there's like the Russians are shooting their rockets, people are still coming just to be there. It was like I guess it also was like a appreciated fact that the three writers came. It was like the first readings since the outbreak of the invasion. So just to be there, like to show the people in Mykolaiv and in Kherson. I don't know, you're not forgotten. You're still here, we come to you and try to get to know you and get in a dialogue. And so after Mykolaiv we went to Kherson. Or like before in Mykolaiv, we also met Vitaly Kim, like the governor. And also, that was also very nice. Also like to meet this kind of legendary figures, which a little bit from the media, from you have read about them, and to just come and say hello, like the writers in there. So the next day we went to Kherson early in the morning, and it was like. I mean, like also Slava, the organizer and manager, was very stressed about that because it's Kherson. And so we started in the early morning, just into the city, and like in November, it was like till the early afternoon, it was kind of live in the city. Like the people went outside and went to the market, and we went to the theater at the main square, and there in the cellar. The bomb shelter, that was like the reading. And it was a very, very different audience than, like, for example, in Nikolai. Like a lot of elderly people, soldiers who came and, like, from the defense forces, and journalists who were stationed in Kherson or along the front. Like, we met one from Japan who was there till 2 years. For 2 years now, yeah, from the beginning.
Oh, wow.
He's there, yeah. Some interesting people.
Also-
Yeah, so there was Kherson, and afterwards we went to Zaporizhia, and in Zaporizhia it was similar or even more massive than in Mykolaiv. It was in a club also downstairs, and also through mouth-to-mouth propaganda, like up to 600 people. It was like very young people, elderly, like soldiers on home leave. It seemed like everyone was there, like, to witness this reading. And after Zaporizhia, Shadan went back to Kharkiv, and Irina, first to Kiev and then to Amsterdam, and Andrei back to where is he from? Like from the west?
Zakarpattia, Transcarpathia.
Yeah, from Transcarpathia. He went back home, and then from there to Berlin. And I think that's also something very interesting to see for me. Like since 2 years, like what Ukrainian artists and writers are doing, and like all of them are like traveling immensely, like for the Ukrainian cause. Like to talk about the war, to talk about art or writing during the war, and about the situation in Ukraine at the moment. So Irina just came from Mexico, from a film festival that she was on the way to Amsterdam, and all of them seemed very tired because all of these travels. But still, it's like was also some of them the choice and their job to do. And I guess that's something what the literature or art can do in such a difficult situation as now in Ukraine. That it gives you the possibility also like to raise awareness, to keep on telling the stories, also not only in your country or in the war zone, but also like in other countries like abroad. Yeah. And also in Kherson at the reading, Yarina Kornovus. She joined us. Yeah? That was a very impressive woman. Like she's, for the Austrians, like she's a soldier. And she used to fight in Bakhmut. And in November she was like with her unit deployed near Kherson. And she's also a poet.
Her book was just published like a few months ago.
Okay, yeah.
The first full book
Yeah.
of poems.
Yeah.
It was more like through social media.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
now we have social
I see.
media, so that's why everybody
Yeah.
can recognize any author.
Yes.
Yeah, then so after Zaporizhia, I went back with Slava, back to Odessa, and yeah, from there back to Moldavia again. So all in all, in November, I was like 10 days in southern Ukraine. And yeah, that was like the second longer reportage from Ukraine, which was also published in this Austrian magazine or newspaper, Standard. Genau.
Cool.
Great.
Yeah, it's great.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Very good.
Really impressive.